perseverance. So you have to really, really want it, of course, because just the finding of the person with whom you have that great spark, who has that great spark with you, who is willing to move heaven and earth, and you're willing to move heaven and earth, that can take quite some time. That can be quite tricky. So you have to find that person through perseverance. Then you have to be so committed, both of you, that you don't let anything come between you. You don't let anything stand in your way, because of course this is something that you've longed for your whole life, and maybe lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. So perseverance is the secret. And then when things go sideways, if they do, even if it's something that you didn't create, if one of you has an illness, you have to persevere, moving heaven and earth to see if it is in fact possible for healing to occur. Or if there's any kind of a business crisis or a war, any one of a million things that can happen. Children who get ill can be the devastating end of many, many marriages and families. So whatever is going to come your way, you have to commit yourself and be absolute committed and persevering that you're not going to let anything stop you from having your lifelong love affair.
It sounds so easy. Okay, next question.
Does it? I didn't mean it to sound easy. I thought I was making it sound almost impossible, which is really tricky. They need a lot of skills.
When you're in the heat of the moment, anything can go.
Okay, all right.
Now, can you explain this old story about men giving love to get sex and women giving sex to hopefully get love in return?
If they mean it, it works. So if a woman is willing to be more sexual than she might ordinarily be, once she's found someone that she adores, who adores her. I mean, you don't want to do this right from the get-go, because we call that prostitution, right? But if you're in a relationship where you adore each other, and maybe that night you're not in the most sexual mood, but you're willing to get there, that works. But you have to authentically be willing to get there. Not like one of these women who forces herself and resentment builds, and then one day she wakes up 23 years later and she says, I'm never having sex with you again, and I didn't like it half the times we did it. So not like that, not like that. And the reverse is true of a man. He may not be the most romantic guy, but if he loves you and you love him, and he knows, as many men do if they're paying attention, that what we women usually enjoy almost as much as anything else is to be romanced and to have somebody speak from his heart, then the willingness to learn to do that, and the willingness to do that is a pretty close guarantee to having a lot more and a lot better sex. But again, the operative terminology here is authentically. So you have to really mean it, each of you.
I like that. No faking it. Yeah. Now, what is the real secret for a man to have a woman love and adore him?
You know, Marshall Rosenberg says that love is a combination of needs met. So if a man wants to be adored, he has to pick a woman who adores those attributes that he possesses. I was just listening to a book on tape about the young Thomas Jefferson, and as he gets older in the book, the woman talks about, and the woman is in this case his daughter Patsy, and she's talking about how someone had loved him when he was in the full flower of his beauty, in his youth, and also in the full flower of his power, as opposed to when he got older. So Thomas Jefferson was an exceedingly beautiful man, who of course was one of the fathers of America, one of the creators of the Declaration of Independence, so one of the great, great, great figures on the planet Earth in that time, and even now, hundreds of years later. So those are attributes, and if that's the kind of attribute that appeals to you, then that kind of a man. However, that's not what everyone's looking for. A lot of women don't want that. They don't believe they deserve that. They want a very simple life. They really want to be left in peace. They don't want to have to look that good. They don't want to have to be trotted out socially. They don't want a husband or a boyfriend who's prominent. They just want to have a little simple life. And so for that woman, the more power you have, the more beautiful you are, it might make her a lot more uncomfortable. And the reverse is true. So it's about being very, very clear about human needs. You need the vocabulary. Then you need to be able to identify what someone's needs are, just from a couple of things they say.
Yes.
And as they say it, and you have to get a sense of, do they mean it, or are they just kind of,
oh my,
sucking up to you, or maybe they need a place to live. That's the tragedy. For a lot of powerful, successful men, there are women, as Helen Rowland, the great author from the 1918, 1920, something like that. She said, when you see who some women marry, you realize how much they don't want to hold down a job.
oh my.
Because it's really true, But of course the opposite is true. When you see who men marry, then you know how desperately they don't want to be alone. So that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about having exactly what you want. We're talking about having the love of your life for whom you are the love of his or her life. Because that's when love is a beautiful, beautiful treasure and a pleasure. So that's what you want.
The ultimate.
Yeah. And settling in that area of life is a fairly revolting enterprise. It's revolting.
And in
To me,
time
at
that
least.
will show up.
Yeah, exactly. When you have that look on your face, this is revolting. And, I guarantee you your partner is going to have a pretty good idea and, and may try to kill you. Been there, done, had that almost done, right? If you're not into it, he deserves to have someone who's really crazy about him.
Now that could be another show. It could go either way.
Yes, for sure. But, you have to be very careful about who you decide to marry. Because everyone, it turns out, wants to be loved. No matter how much they came after you to say yes, no matter how much they indicated that no matter what, they just wanted you to say yes, I am here to tell you that the truth is that everybody wants to be adored. They really do. So be very, 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 very careful. If you don't adore him or she doesn't adore you, step away from the burning building quickly.
I think I have an issue. I adore a lot of men.
No, not really adore them. You're fond of them. You like them.
Okay.
You can't adore them.
Better word.
Or you adore them for a few minutes, an hour or two, but no. Adore is, maybe that's the point. What do I mean when I say adore?
Yeah.
So when you truly love and adore someone, it's not because of what they do for you. So be clear about that. And it is in spite of what they didn't do. And it's really that you just don't have a choice about it. You have no choice about who you love. You just don't have a choice. It's a virus. It's the flu. It's it's that kind of a thing. And it's true. When you look at couples, a lot of times, if you like people watching the way Gigi and I do, we go out to a lunch or dinner a couple times a month, and we look around, and you can see, like, how did they even get together, that couple? It's just completely confusing. But at one point, one of them, maybe even both of them, thought this was a plan. And then you see another couple where they're in their 80s and they're still holding hands when they walk down the street, and not because one of them is going to fall, but because they really are crazy about each other. So that's what we're talking about, when people are just crazy about each other, when being in the presence of one another is just the joy. It makes you feel so alive.
Yeah, there'd be nobody else that you'd care to be with but that particular person.
That's right.
Even if they have a few quirks in them.
Oh, they do have a few quirks. They all have a few quirks, right? Not that we don't. Oh, yeah. Not that we don't have a couple of quirks between us.
Okay, fair enough. The human condition shows up, okay?
Right.
We
Just
get beyond
a
it.
little quirky.
Okay, so I know, Susan, that there are many kinds of connections, and are there some that are more effective?
Yeah, you really have to understand if this person is meeting your needs because he or she is trying to close a deal, which is what happened in both of my marriages. They were both so desperately eager to get me to marry them because they both desperately wanted me to be their trophy wives. I hate to say it, it's kind of stupid, but that was the deal. And so they were nothing like the real people until after we married. My 5-minute rule, 5 minutes after I said I do, I found out that they said I don't. Who knew? Who knew? But anyway, that was the scenario. You have to be very, very clear about what someone's real needs are. And you have to be absolutely crystal clear if you want someone to love you because you meet those needs. They may be needs that you're thrilled to provide. Thrilled to provide every morning, every noon, and every night. Or they may not be, There are women who look really beautiful at their wedding, and then you see them a week later and you don't even really recognize them, And presumably they didn't look beautiful and all done up before the wedding. You hope they didn't, because you hope the husband doesn't get, this terrible shock. With Gigi and I, we don't look this way every minute of the day, obviously. But, we look this way regularly enough, often enough, that I don't think anyone who's gone out with us would be shocked, to see us, on TV, because I've never seen her like that, not at all. So it depends on what's important to you and what you're willing to provide to your partner on a regular basis for the rest of your life. And, if you need a little professional help, go get it.
And that would be Susan. No.
I was thinking of, Debbie and Ganilla Turnpike Hair, but okay.
Well, they're great too.
I was thinking of that. Thank God.